Welcome to Extracurricular. I am your co-host, Eddie Geller.
And I am your other co-host, Stephanie Vanos, school board member for Orange County Public Schools, but I'm here today, as I am always, unofficially.
Unofficially. So that's why I do not call you Member Vanos during this podcast.
Thank you.
Should I call you Member Vanos just more like...
No.
Okay.
No.
You don't like it.
I like when people call me Stephanie.
Okay.
That is my name.
All right, Stephanie. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here. If you're new to the podcast, please do consider subscribing, rating us, Steph.
5 stars only.
5 stars only. And following us on Instagram, extracurricular_podcast. You can also email us at podcastextracurricular@gmail.com. Yes, we could not find a permutation of extracurricularpodcast@gmail.com that I thought was going to be good. So we reversed it.
Reverse it.
Okay. Oh my God. That might be my favorite moment of the podcast ever. Steph, how you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Are you feeling refreshed? You had a race yesterday.
I did. We had our 5th annual school spirit run at SeaWorld. And, we were talking the first year they did it. I did participate the first year. Mm-hmm. There were 800 participants. And this year there were, I think it was over 4,300.
Oh, my goodness.
Which is amazing. There were a lot of people in that park on those little narrow pathways to run.
Were they running from the sharks?
Maybe? Question mark? I don't know. I was I was not running with my daughter this time, and so I decided to give it a race effort, and I was hurting, so I was not paying attention to much that was that I saw. But that's okay.
Well, people should know. I mean, you've talked a number of times on this podcast about being a runner, but you're a fast runner. What pace did you run, or what's the best way to express how quick you went?
Well, most people would not think it's quick, but I ran a 7:18 pace for the 5K, which is a far cry from my my fastest 5Ks. But I've taken a couple years off of workouts. I will say, though, that kind of having a not so great race makes you, inspired to do some more workouts.
Okay, but also you said I didn't have such a great race or not so great race, but you came in the top 10 for women.
Well, that's what Annie said. I don't know. That's what my other daughter said. So somewhere around there. But remember, this is mostly kids. This is a school spirit run. So I'm running against 8-year-olds and 9-year-olds. So, it's not that hard.
So I want to talk about our guest today. This is our first daughter or child of a guest we have had before. For folks who've listened to the Ellie Kennedy episode, which is a fabulous episode, we had her daughter, an organizer of a recent protest, Louell, on the podcast, and she was wonderful.
She was wonderful. She is super engaged in the community, so civically engaged, such a big heart. Planned an Inclusivity Walkout that she talks more about during the episode, but really appreciate her and just so fun to have her on.
And for folks who might be wondering, why are we talking about an Inclusivity Walkout? Well, there are, some people might call it an inclusivity walkout. Those are the rules, but other folks might be more angry at ICE and might say that some anti-ICE sentiment might be included, but that's not what it was. It was an inclusivity walkout, but that's sort of what's swirling around. Is that fair to say? Did I just ruin everything?
I don't know, maybe, but no, I think that's very fair to say. And I appreciate the work they did to make this happen and just make everyone feel loved and supported, regardless of what is happening in the world today. Okay,
I actually want to go, a lot of sports today. I want to go to another sporting event. This is actually being recorded right before the Super Bowl. Which is trademarked. I don't think we can put Super Bowl in the title. We have to, if we wanted to, we're not going to.
Wait, can we say Super Bowl?
I think we can say Super Bowl, but if you have to write out big game or something like that, I think you can get in trouble. You're the lawyer. I don't want to, I'm not here to get sued. Are you a Super Bowl person?
I am not a Super Bowl lawyer, and I am not a Super Bowl person. Am I making chili today? Yes. I'm using an Instapot for the first time, so we'll see how that goes.
What kind of chili is this going to be?
It's got some beef and vegetables and beans, the whole thing.
So not for me.
No, but you know what? There was BOGO on the fake beef, and so I did get some fake beef today at the store. So we could try it another day.
I love it. Are you watching any of the Winter Olympics?
Well, let's go back to the Super Bowl, because are you watching the Super Bowl tonight?
I don't think so. I will probably look at some of the like afterwards, I'll look at some of the commercials if any of them are good, but I will not be watching the game.
Wait, have you ever been in a Super Bowl commercial?
I have not. I've not been in a Super Bowl commercial. I have been in a national commercial. It was a commercial for Best Buy. I think it actually ran during the Stanley Cup Finals. This is like 2008 or something like that. And it actually paid pretty well. It would have paid better if it ran for more than 2 weeks, but no Super Bowl ads.
Do you want to get in on a Super Bowl ad?
Oh my gosh, yes. Are you kidding me? Super Bowl ad, that's a lot of money. And for folks who don't know, I was an actor in Los Angeles. So maybe that's obvious from your question, but I love to clarify.
You know things.
I knew how to audition, and like very, very occasionally someone hired me to be in their commercial.
I love it. Well, hopefully next Super Bowl we'll see you on the screen.
Okay. Are you going to be my agent?
Maybe.
Okay. All right. Well, going back to my question, are you watching any of the Winter Olympics?
I'm not, but that doesn't mean I don't like the Winter Olympics. It just means I've had other things to take up my time.
Well, you're a summer sports kind of gal, I feel like, going back to our thing about running.
Well, yes. I mean, I do like running and I do like gymnastics. I don't know when gymnastics is. Is that summer? I feel like it's summer.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's inside. I feel like if it's inside, it could be equally summer or winter. I don't know. I just watch what's on TV. I'm not like following the Olympics. No offense to the Olympics. They're great. I'm just going to ask, are you watching the Winter Olympics? Because I feel like this was set up because you are watching the Winter Olympics.
Well, I've watched some clips. I've been watching some of the women's hockey. But you know what I've enjoyed even more are the Winter Olympic TikToks. I feel like not only did you probably have to qualify athletically to be in the Olympics, they probably needed you to submit a TikTok portfolio, because not only have I watched TikToks from Olympians, I've watched TikToks of people filming the Olympians, filming themselves. So I feel like that's half the thing when you're over there is you're doing social media. So
it's
that's
like a whole industry.
It's a whole industry, but you know, pulling for our athletes over there, and you know, I'll check when, you know, been watching, like I said, some of the women's hockey and excited for the men's hockey as well.
And is the men's hockey, is that taking place it's not taking place in Tampa. We had this conversation, but the Tampa coach
so is
involved somehow.
The Tampa coach, John Cooper, is the coach of the Canadian team.
Oh, okay.
Because he's Canadian.
Okay.
Like many hockey players.
Okay. Well, speaking of hockey,
a lot of sports at the top of the show.
We went to a hockey game this week.
We did go to a hockey game. We went to a Tampa Bay Lightning game. You got me tickets for a birthday present. Are you the best girlfriend ever?
Yes? Question mark? It was fun, actually. I grew up going to Blackhawks games with my dad in middle school. So it was fun. But I haven't been back in, I don't know how many years that is, but many, many years. And it was really fun. I was really glad to be there with you.
Got to say hi to a couple of my friends who work in the Lightning organization, which was really cool. And it was a great game. We destroyed the Florida Panthers. We do not like the Florida Panthers. They suck. And
there were some fights.
There were, the Tampa Bay and the Florida Panthers, they do not like each other. So there's a lot of bad blood there. So we got to see some fights, got to see a lot of goals. I ate a cookie, had a nice frosty beer. It was wonderful.
It was wonderful.
How did you feel about the talent level of the professional hockey players as compared to when you've come to see some of my games?
I honestly couldn't tell much of a difference. They're out there, they're shooting that puck around. I will say, I mean, you know, there was some like fancy footwork, I feel like, for the professionals, but
yeah,
I feel like your league is good.
Okay, I'm gonna have to cut that out of the podcast because no one's gonna take me seriously.
Whatever. I was struggling a little bit during that game. I got a little motion sickness on the car ride over.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
I was not 100%.
Well, you rallied and we had a great time. Okay. Sports aside, that's more time talking about sports than we ever have talked about on the podcast. Did you have any work events that you want to bring up?
Yeah, I will say that the superintendent had a town hall at one of my high schools this past week. And so I was obviously there. And I would say the biggest takeaway that I had from it was, you know, the questions that people ask afterwards. And I would say we spent probably 90% of the question time on, you know, community members and parents who had questions about ICE and, you know, how it might impact students and what we can do to protect students. So to me, it really just showcased how concerned our community is for our immigrant families and particularly for our children.
As always, really appreciate you being so communicative with the folks you represent and on this issue that we're all thinking a lot about and get into during this interview with Lou. I'm really kind of the genesis for us inviting Lou on. And we actually talk about in the interview the proposed detention center that is could be purchased by ICE and set up here in Orlando. So we get into a bit of that. It's not as fun as hockey, but I think it's more substantive. And it was just a really great conversation with Lou. Anything else before we get to our interview?
No, let's do it.
Let's do it. Louell, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You are our first guest that is related to another guest we've had. We had your mom on, was one of our favorite guests. I know I say that a lot, but really, we have a dear friendship with her. So we're very grateful to have you on. Do you feel like you need to do better than your mom? You need to outcompete her?
No, I think I just kind of need to live up to her. Like, she has one of like the biggest, most outgoing personalities of anyone, and it's definitely something I try to live up to.
She's truly wonderful. So folks should go back and listen to that episode with Ellie, because she was wonderful. Okay.
And she has a pretty big heart too, but you also have a pretty big heart. So
How do
like
you get it
mother,
from
like
somewhere?
daughter. But your dad is great too. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
We brought you on because we know you as an activist in your school, and you've recently led some protests. We'll get to that in a moment, but tell us a bit about how you got into activism. I know I've talked about this before. When I was that age, it certainly had nothing to do with activism. I was missing class and, I don't know, wasting a lot of my time. So I'm very impressed. But yeah, how did you get into it?
Definitely my mom. Like, when I was little, she always like would read me stories of like strong women and communities, or just how to live up to those expectations. And then once I got a little older, we started going to more like Planned Parenthood events and getting into that. The first time I lobbied for Planned Parenthood, I was 10.
Wow.
When I went to the Capitol. And then from there, I kind of just fell in love with it and all the people I met. And like for my 5th grade oration contest, I won 3rd place with a speech about abortion rights.
That's amazing.
And yeah, I mean, she just always taught me how to be involved. And then from there, like, completely fell in love with it.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And so obviously you gravitated towards, bodily autonomy, women's rights. Was there anything else, as you were coming up, you're like, oh, this is something I really care about and I'm really passionate about?
I mean, I don't know. That's kind of always been my center of like my attention. But especially now, like during all the Don't Say Gay stuff, I worked a little bit with that. And, with now the ICE things that are happening, that's kind of a focus of mine. But I would definitely say like bodily autonomy and women's rights are my main passions.
And I think one thing I've seen, with your activism is it is about issues that you care about, but you also, I think, are able to make the connection between the issues you care about and the people who are representing you and serving the public in elected office. And I know that you've, volunteered on some political campaigns as well.
Mm-hmm. I did a lot with the Yes on 4 campaign for like an entire 2 years of my life. It was like every single weekend, every single day, something about Yes on 4. And from there, it was kind of making those connections, talking to those people. Like, they've become such like familial figures for me, and watching them be able to grow and change the world is really magical.
I love it. And for folks who are listening who might not know, the Yes on 4 was the abortion rights being enshrined into the Florida Constitution, which did not pass, but got 57% of the vote.
Yes,
so, do you feel like school, sorry, I'm going off script a little bit, but I'm just thinking about it as you're talking about it. Do you think school, the administration, et cetera, has been helpful or has been an impediment to your activism? How do you interact with like the school apparatus?
They have been so helpful to me.
Really?
Yeah, they have been so encouraging. And I definitely think with my admin at my school, like, they give us the space to feel so supported and connected to each other, where it makes it so easy for people to feel comfortable to come out and be active in their communities. And, just having meetings with the admin and understanding that even though they may agree or not agree, they also have a job to do, and their job may or may not be on the line. So kind of like meeting in the middle of how to do that is important.
So it sounds like the admin really understands that when we talk about educating students doesn't just happen in a classroom. It happens with, extracurriculars. It happens with clubs. It happens with actions that students take. And it sounds like what you're saying is, regardless of whether admin might agree or might not agree with the actual action or position you're taking, they recognize that education, a large part of it really occurs outside of the classroom. Yeah. And I would say some of the most important parts. What do you think about that?
I absolutely agree. Like, every year we host like a pre-voter registration drive, and we give out pins, and we're in the homecoming parade, and we do all this like fun like high school activities in a space that admin gives us. And it's so important that we have that outlet for our school.
And I'm kind of setting you up here, but why do you think it's important for younger people to be involved? God, I feel so old when I'm like, younger people.
The youth of today.
The youth of today. Tell us what it's like. No, but curious.
Getting involved is the most important thing you can do. Right now, being apolitical or just not involved at all is so dangerous to all of us. And I know that's kind of like a scapegoat for some people of like, I'll just bury my head in the sand and it's fine and it'll all go away. But we are building a new world for ourselves. And through that, we need to be able to build the world that we want, not the crumbs that are left for us with whatever is happening now.
Do you find, let's say in the school setting or even just with friends or young people that, do you ever find yourself having hard conversations with people? Or is it, or is it a situation where people kind of just put themselves in the bubble and surround themselves with people that are like them? Or do you find yourself that you actually are able to have, hard conversations with people?
I have definitely had some difficult conversations with people, especially this year. But I'm very grateful. My friends, they all know me very well, and I am very, very outspoken with most things. But that's kind of given me the courage to be able to talk, and even having those difficult conversations, being able to just have that is very, very important. And yeah, I definitely think I am able to do that in school, and being in journalism definitely helps too with that kind of thing. It's kind of part of it.
Right. How to talk to people who have different views. I think that I think back to my own time in high school and just how much my own views evolved just from talking to different people, different perspectives. So I think about that. And I would hope that our high schools and our schools just encourage those kinds of conversations.
One thing you said that is sticking out to me, you said, we're building a new world. I love that. What do you mean by that?
With what's happening right now in politics, it's that's not what the majority of young people want to see, and it's not what we can see. We are not going to be able to feasibly live in a world where the world that we are living in and building, and being able to kind of retake that and make it a space where everyone can live their authentic lives, live their safe lives, where we feel comfortable to just be ourselves is so, so important. And I think being able to build that new world is, it's what needs to happen.
I love it. What insight do you have thinking about, the young people versus the old people? Not that it's versus, but but I think when you're younger, you have a different perspective than you do when you get old and maybe cynical or stuck in your ways. But what insights do you think maybe a high schooler has that might be lost or misunderstood as an adult? I know when I was young, I was like, the old people don't get it. So I'm curious if you see that in any specific ways.
I think for some adults, they're scared of seeing young people actually be knowledgeable and understand the things that are happening around them. And teenagers especially, everything feels like a big deal because it is. We're all living for the first time together. And even though it might not be the biggest deal to an adult, teenagers, we don't have a lot of freedoms in our lives, But when we can find something to latch onto, it's so empowering to be able to be yourself and share your opinions and feel those feelings in a way that you're actually making change.
What do you think are some of the top, I don't know, you've mentioned for you personally, abortion is a huge, and just the, pro-choice is just kind of very important to you. But what do you think are other top issues that, people your age or young people feel are really important that maybe older people aren't as in tune with or are paying as much attention to or don't care about as much?
I think the top one would be the environment, because once again, with building that new world, like, we need a world to live. And the older generations may not have realized that they were doing something wrong, and we are now needing to fix it. And I think people getting stuck in their ways is definitely something, but the environment is a 100%.
Yeah, as you were asking that question, I was like, you mean how we're continuing to destroy the environment?
Well, and when you bring up that one, I wonder if that does pull a lot of maybe different people who might not agree on other things. Maybe they're not on the same side politically for other issues, but the environment is something that equally, impacts everyone. And I feel like maybe it's a little less, especially when you're young, a little less partisan. Do you find that or no?
Yeah, I mean, I feel that a lot of issues are nonpartisan, but they're made to be partisan. And most of the issues are just about humility and empathy and, just being a person first. And I think a lot of politics is so divided that people can't see that, and all they see is one side versus another, as opposed to just being an empathetic person.
Well, I do feel like specifically on the environment, since the Trump administration took over, and I may have said this even before on this podcast, it's like, well, I guess that's 4 years where we're just going to let the climate go to shit while we wait for an administration who's going to do something. But it is absolutely, I think, one of the largest moral failings of our time that this is not something we're talking about every day. But I say this sincerely, I am buoyed by people like you who are like, no, we will make this better world and we are not going to let this go, and we are determined to make it better. Because I definitely have times where I'm like, well, we're all just going to burn up, aren't we?
No, they're not going to let us.
They're not going to let us. And we love you for it, and we appreciate you for it. One more question on the school front is, you've said they've been, your administration, your et cetera, have been, helpful in facilitating your activism. Is there anything else you feel like, in general, you have a school board member right here, so if you got complaints, now is the time to let them out. But school could be doing better to prepare you for your future?
Honestly, I think it's less about the school itself and students being able to find a space for themselves within the school. Like, I know for me, my freshman year, I came in and joined a bunch of stuff, and I've only really stuck with a couple of those things, but having that outlet to kind of find a space for myself where I could feel like someone did understand me, and I could find people who maybe had the same interests as me or the same beliefs as me, having that at school was vital for where I am now.
I love that. And I think rightfully on this podcast, we talk a lot about all the, I would say, terrible policies that come from the Florida State Board of Education, the Florida legislature, whether it's banning books or whatever. I mean, that's the top one on my mind. But it is good to be reminded that so much of what a student, how they go about their day in school is like the people they meet, the people they hang around with, the clubs they join. And I mean, not that we shouldn't be mad as hell about books that are being banned and rights that are being taken away from students, but it's good to remember there's plenty of other aspects of school that, are really important to kids, and they're still able to enjoy and appreciate. What do you think, Steph?
Well, I think, what I'm taking away from that is that, as we have continued funding cuts from the state of Florida, often the first things to go are extracurricular activities and, paying for coaches or sports and all of that sort of thing, or having the extra funds to pay the stipends for teachers to support the clubs. And yet, you're not the first person. I hear a lot of times from students that the most important thing, that they're learning to become people, like, are all those extra things. And for a lot of kids, that's the reason they come to school. Like, they're coming to school to do math and English and social studies and science. They're doing those things in school, but the reason that they're there is because of something else that they're doing that's outside of classes. And so I think it's just a reminder of how important it is to fund those programs and honestly be able to pay our teachers and our educators who are spending extra time supporting these programs and extracurriculars.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I feel like for me especially, when you're in those extracurriculars, you're building your own community and you're learning how to work with other people. You're learning how to kind of function as a person in a contained space where you have the freedom to understand how to live and how to create a product or, just put an event together or something like that you will need when you're an adult and you have a job and, you might have to work with someone you're not friends with, but you have to work with them and you just learn how to be your own person.
Yeah. I'm going to ask another question, sort of a controversial question, but
we love controversy on this podcast.
Well, I mean, I think there's people out there who are saying, well, in our schools, the teachers are like pushing their views on students, pushing their political views on students, and that that it's, I don't know. Yeah, just that it's typically people saying they're pushing, leftist views or I guess more progressive views on students. And I'm just wondering, when you think to your teachers in your classes you're in high school, but from elementary, middle, and high school, have you felt that? Do you feel like teachers are like sort of pushing some kind of political thought or ideology onto students?
I mean, especially when you're saying like, particularly like leftist opinions, like I said before, a lot of it is just looking back and being a person, like especially in like history classes. Like I remember my 8th grade US history class. You have to take it when you're in middle school, and you learn about slavery for the first time. You learn about all of these really impactful
and how it benefited the slaves, according to Florida.
And it just, you learn about all these very impactful issues for the first time. And I didn't find that my teachers have pushed that like an agenda, but maybe more or less just looked back and acknowledged that we as a society made mistakes and we need to move forward from those mistakes. And I mean, I don't think that's pushing like a leftist agenda. I think it's just being a person.
Well, and I would think when a student maybe learns about slavery and they learn about the Holocaust, it causes them to have their own reactions because they realize how wrong and how backwards and how, what a stain those things have been on our history.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, especially for students who aren't as, outspoken as myself, like a lot of people, they go to school to learn those things for the first time, not it be, reiterated. So I definitely feel that understanding every aspect of learning and being taught is very important for just producing functioning, educated members of society and, being an adult one day.
Right. Who won't make the same mistakes that have been made in the past.
Well, speaking of making the same mistakes.
Am I getting called out here?
No, not you. No, not you. We'll just save that for the end of the podcast. We call you out on everything you've done wrong. Kidding, you've never done anything wrong. Okay. But you as I alluded to, one of the reasons we were inspired to have you on this podcast is because you helped organize, can we call it protest or walkout? What's the vernacular?
It was an inclusivity walkout.
An inclusivity walkout that is happening, I would say in the shadow of what's going on with ICE in this country, the murders in Minnesota. So can you tell us about how how you've been experiencing this moment. I mean, we've all witnessed these things on social media, and your decision to help organize this walkout.
I mean, I definitely feel like students are always more educated than people believe. We have so much information at our fingertips. Like, you go online, on social media, on whatever platform you're on, and every 4 videos is something political. Mm-hmm. And I think that's definitely something that adults don't fully grasp, is we are not just word of mouth understanding these things. We are seeing it happen for ourselves. We're seeing it live. We can, figure out whether it's AI or not, but we are understanding these things, and we care because, we don't want that to happen in the world that we're growing up in. And so definitely that inspired being able to create a community at my school with the walkout, but also, obviously, I don't have the same experiences as every student. And I think one of the most important things for me was to just have that community for people, so people felt seen and supported and understood that, although you might not talk about it in your classes or with your friends, like, there's always someone here that can and will listen to you and will support you and will understand where you're coming from, because these are some scary times for people. And, not everyone will understand that, but having that large of a community around you just to feel that love and support and understanding definitely was an influence. And
I love it. And so just curious a little bit of the details, like how did you, obviously tell us as much as you feel comfortable or whatever, but like how you organize it, what did it actually look like when, what was the walkout when it happened? Just any of those sort of details you can talk through would be very interesting.
So I sat in with my principal and I said, what are the rules for having a walkout? We wanted to work with admin, not against them, because if we worked with them, more people would be able to have that safe space to come out and share their stories instead of all of us just getting in trouble. So I sat in with my principal and I said, what can we do? What's the plan? And, he gave me a general layout, and we kind of reworked some of the branding. So it was an inclusivity walkout. And then he said, come find me tomorrow. So that morning I got to school at 6:30 and I just waited for my principal to get there. Yeah. And then I kind of just followed where he was going, and we kind of had a talking meeting. And, we had previously printed all of our flyers. And then from there, he gave us the final yes. They provided us tables and, the resource officers and everyone. And we handed out a lot of posters, posted on my Instagram and then on our club's Instagram, and I asked everyone to screenshot and reshare, and they definitely screenshot and reshared it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So it sounds like this was truly just a fully student-led, student-organized, and then, the administration just kind of made sure that you were following the, district policies, so that, no one would, get in trouble. But sounds like it was truly just organized by students. I mean, the flyers, the screenshots, the promotion, by a group of students who sounds like just wanted people to know that they were supported and loved.
Yeah, absolutely. We started planning it on Wednesday and it happened on Friday. So it was a quick turnaround, but we didn't actually leave campus. We had it during lunch, during A and B lunch. So students didn't have to miss their educational time if they didn't want to. They just got their lunch and came and ate it outside and then went back to class. We did that for both lunches so everyone could be included, and we didn't leave campus. We kind of just had a little community there.
I love that. How many students showed up, do you think?
It was over either 100 or a little above at each lunch.
Okay.
That's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised that in the state of Florida, an inclusivity walkout was actually not more troublesome than an anti-ICE protest.
Well, just wait, Eddie. Just wait. Just wait.
Yeah, I mean, I know there were some complaints, but, there's always going to be some complaints. I'm just so glad that students actually came out and were able to see that people care. We got some local news attention for it. It was pretty crazy.
That's amazing.
It's very impressive, and it's very heartening to see that sort of mindfulness, and that, to your point, like creating that community and making sure people are seen. I think, Steph and I have been talking lately a lot about these protests breaking containment, and I can't remember the last time, though I'm sure it has happened, last time I've seen sort of like in school walkouts like this. So it just feels incredibly important, and thank you so much for organizing it. And I am heartened to hear that the school worked with you and the administration worked with you, but this stuff is not without its own dangers, from different ways. So yeah, thank you for doing that.
Of course.
Do you know anyone, do you have friends in school who have been impacted by this administration's ICE policies?
I do know people who have been impacted. I wouldn't say I know them particularly well, but I have spent time with them and I know them personally. And obviously a bunch of people know them, and having just discourse about the situations and everything is important. It's also hard because not everyone understands. And you can't share too much about these people because you don't know what could happen or will happen. But yeah, I definitely have known and do know some people who have been directly impacted.
I think that's for people to realize that truly just all of our neighbors, it's here. It's the people who go to your children's school. It's the people who live down the street. And I've shared on the podcast before, I know, my daughters who, are also in high school have friends that, can't share their address. Like no one can know where they live because they were afraid, they're here legally, but, we just live in a climate where that they are afraid. So I think it impacts a lot more people than people may realize.
Absolutely.
Because they're not, if you're scared and you're fearful, you're not out there waving, waving
Right.
flags. Like it's, you're being quiet.
Yeah. That's kind of why, that was also part of the decision of why we called it an inclusivity walkout, just so people could have that sort of protection over themselves and over other people, because we did not use ICE on any branding. We had people make posters. We did not have them write anything about it. It was more or less, we are for something, not against anything. So that I think that definitely helped and encouraged students to have that bravery and that safety to come out and participate with us.
I love that.
Curious if you've heard of, have any reaction to this potential ICE detention facility happening here in Orlando?
I have heard of it. I've had some conversations about it. It's definitely, disheartening to know that could be directly in our backyard, and, that it could be something so dangerous for our neighbors or friends or other students. And I just hope that it does not end up coming to fruition. And that the city understands that our community is the most important thing over political power and corporation and money. But
we'll see.
Well, Steph, and I don't mean to put you too much on the spot, though I always love putting you on the spot because you're an elected official. For folks who don't know, and there's an article that actually walks through it. Like, essentially, the local officials here in Orlando are almost universally united against this. And I know our representative, Anna Escamani, has followed up with the folks who, may be selling this warehouse. But I don't know, can you talk to the fact that these local elected officials seem to be powerless to stop it? I don't know. I'm curious if there's any insight you can bring to this.
Yeah, I know that a lot of people here had concerns, and I think there were some really creative ways that some of our, elected leaders were trying to get around this, maybe having some zoning, I guess, laws or moratorium on certain buildings. But my understanding is the city attorney advised at least the city, because I guess the detention center is actually located within the city limits, that there's really nothing they can do. And she cited the supremacy clause, which really just says that if there's a federal agency that is trying to accomplish something that really a locality can't prevent that, and that like federal laws will prevail over, state and local laws and ordinances. So I think that's sort of where they are now. I think that a lot of our elected leaders are very concerned. I'll tell you who I wish was more concerned, and I'll tell you who I wish was more outspoken about it.
Well, are you going to say me? Because I'm trying.
You're doing a great job. No, I think there are some corporate interests. I know there's a corporation who owns land that's adjacent to this potential development. I know there's a church that owns land that is adjacent to it, and I haven't seen a lot from either I understand there's a real estate arm of the church, which is interesting that the church has a real estate arm, but I haven't heard much from the church about this. I haven't heard much from the company who owns land that is adjacent to this. And in this state, corporations and churches have power. So I really wish that they would say something.
Absolutely. Sorry, you had to listen to us go on a tangent. No, it's just very upsetting. There's this great video that has been passed around for the last week of a gentleman, I believe in Arizona, talking about a detention facility and recounting this story from after the Holocaust about this town that, quote unquote, didn't know what was going on and the shame they felt. And I'll link to it in our show description. But pretty much we know enough about the inhumane conditions and the abuse and the number of deaths that are happening in ICE facilities to know that we will be ashamed for whatever is created, at our doorstep. So, God willing, we can do everything we can to stop it. Okay. I want to go back for just a second talking about, your protests and I was mentioning my frustration. We've been frustrated on this podcast about the state of Florida, the Department of Education in this state. And actually the head of the Department of Education released this letter. I won't read you all of it, but essentially put out a letter in relation to a lot of these protests that have been going on. Have you heard any of this?
Yes. So that letter came out maybe 2-3 days after we held our protests. So
yeah. So I just want to read a couple portions of it and kind of get your reaction. So, and thank you, Steph, for your highlighting portions. Students retain constitutional rights to free expression, including the ability to engage in peaceful protests when such expression complies with applicable law and school district policy. Any student whose actions are contrary should be appropriately disciplined. Students have a responsibility to ensure that any protest activity does not interrupt instructional time, school operations, or campus safety. Two more sentences. Florida's public schools must remain focused on teaching, learning, and student safety. Therefore, we encourage you to have conversations with your students about the importance of not allowing civic engagement to distract from time in the classroom. So yeah, I'm curious your reaction to that.
I mean, for us, we were not disrupting any time in the classroom. That's why we held it during a student time, during lunch, so that people could participate and not, even before this letter came out, not miss time, because that's why we're at school. We want to get an education. We want to learn and grow as people, but I mean, there's no reason. Once again, like, adults are scared of knowing that kids and teenagers know what's going on, because once we know what's going on and we come of age, we will start to take their jobs. We will start to be in positions of power and go against what they want us to be doing. And they don't like knowing that they won't always have this power, and that young people are powerful and hold opinions and voices that will eventually change the world.
Right. Well, and I think you also will be voting soon.
Yes.
And I think that's also scares some people.
Yes.
In fact, there was someone on the State Board of Education who wrote an opinion piece in the Miami Herald this past November, and she was sharing her fear of young people who tend to, vote for people like Mayor Mamdani, and that really scared her.
Yeah.
And so when I read things like that, and then I see letters like the one that came out this past week, sometimes it makes me wonder whether it's about protecting instructional time or whether it's really about trying to squash, certain viewpoints.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just, I wonder. I wonder about that.
I wonder.
I don't know.
I mean, there's a cliche that has been said a lot that if your vote didn't matter, they wouldn't try so hard to stop you from voting. And I think similarly, if your protest didn't matter, they wouldn't spend so much time trying to stop you from doing it, which I think is a testament to everything you said, that these walkouts, these protests are powerful. And I think kudos to you for doing it the quote unquote right way. And I mean this with my full heart, that you did it the way that was, followed the rules. And I think that's very important. As the person who's not a student, also not a school board member, I will also say, I want it to be as disruptive as possible. I mean, I think protests are meant to be disruptive, but that being said, you did an incredible job. The fact, again, that this letter was sent out and people are noticing is just hugely important. And I also, Steph and I were talking about this a couple of days ago, and I think what you articulated earlier about finding your community is so important about school. But, this country was founded on a protest, founded on people being, sick of tyranny. And so here you are, a student and other students like you who are learning to go about the world, who are exercising the same rights that the founders did to form this country. And the idea that should be chastised or disciplined is wild to me. I mean, I get it, and for all the reasons that you both articulated, but I think it's just such an American thing to do, and what an incredible part of your learning experience to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that protest, that walkout, was some people's first, visualization of what democracy is and what organizing looks like. And I'm really hoping it inspired and influenced some people to be more involved, be more outspoken. And yeah, I'm really hoping that from it comes not only community, but also real action.
I love it.
Well, and I did hear, by the way, that there were students who this was their first time, and after they, attended the Inclusivity Walkout, they learned from their friends that there was another protest that was planned that weekend in Orlando that many of them participated in. And had they not, attended a walkout, kind of, I would say, in a safe place of a school, for their first time, maybe they wouldn't have participated in that. And I think it's that piece that makes people nervous, that it is introducing people, that it's making them nervous. And you're right, Eddie, this is what, our country was founded upon. And I think it's for all voices. I mean, I understand there's some new clubs that have been, introduced to your school this year. Particularly after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And that's part of having diverse voices and developing, civic education
Absolutely.
Within the school campus. So,
and how else are you going to find the groups that you don't want to date from than starting a Talking Points organization?
Talking points?
or Turning Points. Turning Points, Talking Points.
And I think those groups are important, and they should be able to exist on a school campus just as any after school club should be able to exist. And I think sometimes actually, being able to talk through and better understand what's happening, whatever that looks like, I think it's just a positive thing for our students.
Yeah, I mean, having any space to have that sort of civil discussion and understanding of one another, if we're allowed to do it, so are they. If they're allowed to do it, so are we. It's, once again, just about students being able to find, new information and find places for themselves on campus. And even if that's not with our organization, at least they're educated, at least they want to be involved in politics, at least they understand something that's happening in the world.
Well, and they're paying attention, right? And maybe their frame and their perspective is for any student is one way right now, but that can change over time. And I think just being engaged and paying attention to what's happening is super important for everybody.
I agree. Absolutely.
Okay, so you are not old enough to vote yet, but you will be soon. And you've obviously already been active, and I'm sure we'll do some more activism and participation this coming election cycle. What do you want to see from people running for office this year, whether it's like local candidates or you want to see from elected officials generally? Curious.
I definitely want to see real engagement with young people. I mean, I know we always say, especially during election cycles, like, oh, well, we have young people involved in our campaign or young volunteers or this or that. And it's like, yes, but being able to actually understand what young people are saying. Politicians work for the people. They don't work for themselves. And young people are people too. And having that sort of understanding is the most important thing, and actually taking us seriously, because once again, you are creating what we want to see in our government, and just having that real tangible evidence of you care about citizens, you care about your constituents, you maybe not even your constituents, but you just care about the people around you. I think that's the most important thing.
Steph, do you care about your constituents?
I absolutely care about my constituents.
All right, well, you have my vote.
Thank you for the question.
Okay, and last one, and I think I know the answer to this, but are you hopeful about the future?
I am. I know a lot of people can kind of get cynical over time and not really understand like that change can happen still, and we can move forward even though we're kind of moving backward. We can move forward, we can catch up with ourselves, but I'm really hoping that, especially in the next coming election cycles and election years, that people are understanding now more than ever that your vote does matter. Mm-hmm. It does make a difference. Mm-hmm. And government isn't just there to sit on a podium and talk. Like, government is there to actually make change, and they do make real decisions that affect everyone. Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping that it goes well.
I love it. Do you think you someday might want to run for office?
I don't know. I mean, I definitely want to work in politics. That's my absolute dream. I don't know where that path might take me. Mm-hmm. I kind of want to work with like grassroots organizations and campaigns and stuff. I want to go to college for political communications. So I don't know, but maybe.
Okay.
I can also see you being that journalist that digs into,
I don't know,
investigates and digs into things. So you're so talented in that. And I so appreciate you. I know you have been out in our community in so many ways, just volunteering, giving your time, helping, and really like bringing up not just younger people, but also your peers that just have not had the same experiences that you've had, that you've been fortunate enough to have, I would say. And I see that, and that's what the future is. I think it's bringing people in, and I, for one, will go on record saying that I believe that civic engagement is one of the most important things that we can be encouraging our children, our students to do. So thank you truly for what you do.
And I know Steph might not be as encouraging of women to run for office as I am, but I want to ask you to run for office someday and to consider it. Because Steph, how many times do women have to be asked?
At least 7. So I'll also say you should really consider running for office. I think you'd be fantastic.
Yeah, I don't. Maybe.
That's 2 times.
That's 2.
You got
your first
now,
2.
So yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Lou, for coming on the podcast. We are both so appreciative and so inspired by you, and look forward to everything you're going to do. Keep at it.
Thanks. I'm hoping to go somewhere.
Did I sound really old when I phrased it like that? Maybe I'm a little obsessed this week because
maybe you're a little old.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, of course. Bye.